Before you see Keanu Reeves as a Hollywood legend, stop. Because behind that quiet smile is a story of loss so painful it could have broken anyone. He lost the woman he loved. He lost his child before even holding her. And instead of turning bitter, he became one of the kindest souls in Hollywood. This isn't a movie scene. This is the heartbreak that made Keanu Reeves stronger. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. Stop scrolling. Because what you're about to hear isn't another glamorous Hollywood success story filled with red carpets, flashing cameras, or record-breaking box office numbers. This is something far deeper. This is the story of how unbearable heartbreak, silent, unseen, and often misunderstood, can slowly shape a stronger human being. At the center of this story stands Keanu Reeves, one of the most recognizable faces in the world. To millions, he is the fearless action hero. The man who bends reality in The Matrix. The unstoppable force in John Wick. A global superstar admired for his talent and longevity in an industry that rarely shows mercy. But fame only tells half the story. What most people don't see is the man behind the roles. A man who has faced loss not once, but repeatedly. A man who has experienced pain so deep that it could have easily turned him bitter, distant, or hardened by the world. And yet, somehow, he chose a different path. Behind Keanu's calm smile and gentle voice lies a life shaped by tragedy. Not the dramatic kind splashed across headlines, but the quiet kind that changes how a person sees everything. The kind of pain that teaches you how fragile life really is. The kind that forces you to slow down, to listen, and to feel more deeply than ever before. This is not a story about how heartbreak destroyed him. There are no scandals here. No explosive interviews. No public breakdowns. Instead, this is a story about resilience. About how grief doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it walks beside you silently, reshaping your values, your priorities, and your understanding of what truly matters. Keanu Reeves didn't let heartbreak define him as a victim. He allowed it to transform him into someone gentler, more compassionate, and profoundly human. In a world that often rewards ego and excess, his strength shows up in humility, kindness, and quiet dignity. This story isn't meant to glorify pain. It's meant to show what can grow from it. Because sometimes, the strongest souls aren't forged in success, but in how they survive loss without losing their humanity. Keanu Reeves' life was never defined by comfort or stability, not even before fame found him. Long before movie sets and global recognition, his childhood was marked by uncertainty. His father left when Keanu was still young, leaving behind a sense of absence that followed him into adulthood. His family moved frequently, never staying in one place long enough to feel truly settled. For a child, stability is everything, and for Keanu, it was something he rarely experienced. School was no escape. He struggled with dyslexia, making learning more difficult and often frustrating. While others moved forward with ease, Keanu had to work twice as hard just to keep up. These early challenges quietly shaped him, teaching patience and endurance long before he ever understood their value. Life taught him early that nothing was guaranteed. Yet despite the hardships, Keanu eventually found happiness. In the late 1990s, his life took a hopeful turn when he fell deeply in love with actress Jennifer Syme. For the first time, the future felt bright. They weren't chasing headlines or public attention. They were simply two people dreaming of a life together. When they learned they were expecting a baby girl in 1999, joy filled their world. A name had already been chosen. Plans were being made. Hope felt real. Then, everything changed. Their daughter was stillborn. The loss was devastating. It was the kind of grief that cannot be explained or measured. The kind that leaves silence where joy once lived. Time did not erase the pain, it only taught them how to carry it. The weight of that loss strained their relationship, and despite their love, the grief proved too heavy to overcome together. And just when it seemed unimaginable that life could be any harsher, tragedy struck again. In 2001, Jennifer Syme died in a tragic car accident. In a matter of years, Keanu lost both his child and the woman he loved. For many people, that would be a breaking point, a reason to retreat from the world, to close off emotionally, to give up on hope entirely. But Keanu Reeves did something different. Instead of allowing loss to harden him, he carried it quietly. Instead of turning away from the world, he moved through it with greater empathy. This was not the end of his story, it was the painful beginning of a deeper transformation. As the years passed, fame continued to rise around Keanu Reeves. The roles became bigger. The paychecks grew larger. His face became known across the world. From the outside, it looked like success in its purest form. But behind the cameras and applause, Keanu carried his grief quietly, never allowing it to define his public image or become a source of attention. He never turned his pain into headlines. He never sat down for dramatic interviews to relive his losses. He never used tragedy as a tool to gain sympathy or relevance. In an industry where personal struggles are often displayed for publicity, Keanu chose silence, and in that silence, something rare began to define him. Humility. People didn't admire Keanu just for his talent, but for how he moved through the world. He was seen sitting alone on a park bench, blending into everyday life. He shared simple conversations with strangers. He gave up his seat on the subway without hesitation. These moments weren't staged. They weren't part of a public image campaign. They were natural reflections of a man who understood how fragile life can be, and how valuable every human connection truly is. Keanu once shared a simple truth. Grief doesn't disappear. It stays with you. It becomes part of who you are. Rather than fighting that reality, he learned to live alongside it. He allowed grief to soften him instead of hardening him. It shaped his patience, deepened his empathy, and taught him to listen more than he spoke. His compassion extended far beyond small gestures. Keanu quietly donated large portions of his movie earnings to children's hospitals and cancer research, often choosing to remain anonymous. He supported film crew members financially, helping those behind the scenes who rarely receive recognition. On set, he treated everyone the same, from lead actors to assistants, with respect and dignity. Pain had every reason to make him distant, guarded, or cold. But Keanu Reeves chose a different outcome. His suffering became a source of understanding, not bitterness. His grief became a bridge to kindness, not isolation. In a world where pain often turns people inward, he allowed it to open his heart outward, proving that true strength is not about avoiding pain, but about what you become because of it. What makes Keanu Reeves truly extraordinary isn't merely that he survived heartbreak, it's how he transformed it into a source of quiet strength. Many people who endure the kind of loss he faced often turn inward, building walls of bitterness or seeking distractions in fame, wealth, or indulgence. But Keanu chose a different path. He didn't numb himself with excess. He didn't chase accolades or public validation. He didn't allow the cruelty of life to harden his heart or diminish his humanity. Instead, he slowed down. He learned to live deliberately. He listened more than he spoke. He observed the world carefully and treated each encounter with thoughtfulness. Simple moments, a brief conversation, a kind gesture from a stranger, a quiet walk in the park, became meaningful anchors in his life. In a world constantly racing toward the next big thing, Keanu chose presence over distraction. When asked about happiness, he doesn't give grand, inspirational speeches or use cliches. Instead, he speaks gently about appreciating the small, often overlooked parts of life, watching a sunset, sharing a genuine smile, or giving time and attention to someone in need. For someone who has lost what he lost, the love of a partner, the joy of a child, these simple joys are profound. They serve as reminders that life's true value is fragile, fleeting, and best cherished quietly. Keanu's strength doesn't need a spotlight. It isn't loud or performative. It is evident in his patience, his generosity, and his consistent kindness toward others. It shows in the way he treats crew members, strangers, co-stars, and friends with the same level of respect. It shows in the humility with which he carries himself, never letting fame or wealth dictate his worth or actions. In a world that often rewards ego, self-promotion, and ruthlessness, Keanu Reeves stands out precisely because he chose empathy over bitterness, humility over pride, and understanding over judgment. He reminds us that true resilience is not measured by how loudly one asserts strength, but by the quiet, steady way one continues to live, love, and give, even after experiencing the deepest heartbreak. Keanu Reeves didn't just survive life's tragedies, he used them to become a stronger, gentler, and more compassionate human being, inspiring millions without ever needing to announce it. This story isn't really about a celebrity. It's not about fame, wealth, or Hollywood glamour. It's about something far more universal. It's about you. It's about anyone who has ever faced loss, heartbreak, or disappointment and wondered if they would ever feel whole again. Keanu Reeves' life, filled with unimaginable grief, reminds us that even the deepest pain can teach lessons about resilience, compassion, and strength. What Keanu shows us is that strength isn't about simply moving on or forgetting the hardships we endure. True strength lies in carrying your pain with grace. It's about allowing heartbreak to deepen your understanding of life, rather than letting it harden your heart or destroy your ability to connect with others. Loss may leave scars, but it doesn't have to define you. How you respond to pain, whether you let it break you or shape you, is what truly matters. Keanu's life also teaches a powerful lesson about kindness. In a world that often equates power with aggression or fame, he demonstrates that compassion is never a weakness. Quiet resilience, humility, and empathy can be far more powerful than loud success or public recognition. Through his actions, helping strangers, donating generously, supporting friends and colleagues, he shows that even small gestures of care and understanding have immense value. Even after suffering unimaginable loss, the death of a loved one, the loss of a child, Keanu found ways to live meaningfully. He chose love over bitterness, generosity over resentment, and patience over anger. His example reminds us that heartbreak does not have to be the end of your story. It can be the foundation for a life of depth, empathy, and quiet strength. In a world constantly searching for heroes, Keanu Reeves teaches us that the strongest people are not always the loudest or most celebrated. Sometimes, they are the ones who remain gentle, humble, and kind in the face of adversity. Their courage comes not from triumphing over others, but from the way they navigate life with dignity, compassion, and understanding. If this story moved you, take it to heart. Your pain does not define your ending. Instead, it may be shaping your strength, teaching you resilience, and guiding you to live with empathy. Life can still be meaningful, even after heartbreak. Your journey, like Keanu's, can inspire others simply through the way you carry yourself and the love you continue to give.